Hey Mark, how are you today?
Good afternoon, Cheryl. I am fantastic, thank you.
I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm excited to hear what you're going to help me understand and learn about your district. And I thought the way that we would start the interview today is for you just to talk a little bit about yourself. I'd like for you to maybe introduce yourself and explain your role within your district, and maybe do it through a connected learner lens and tell us a little bit about how you learn by connecting. And then what we'll do is get you to tell us a little bit about your district too. So, who are you, Mark?
Thank you, Cheryl. Well, my name is Mark Carbone, and it's my pleasure and honor to serve as the Chief Information Officer for the Waterloo Region District School Board. I have worked with the school board for 32 years now in a variety of different roles, and each one has been a great opportunity for me to grow and learn, and I think all of those experiences support the work that I'm doing now.
It's great.
And in terms of being a connected educator, I think first and foremost, I believe learn by doing, the importance of role modeling, and you really have to role model what you seek. I'm not sure how else to say that. So I've been very active in Web 2.0 and social media spaces. I'm an active blogger. I've had wonderful learning opportunities through Powerful Learning Practice, having taken their year 1 and 2 programs as well as their online coaching training, and also had the honor of serving as a connected coach as well. All fantastic experiences. And what I'm finding back here in our school district is those kinds of things give credibility to the work that you're doing. Every day you're participating on Twitter, you're sharing resources, you're asking questions, you reflect through a professional approach to blogging and so on. And so I think you just have to live it.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, one of the things that I've noticed is the more that I'm out there posturing myself as a learner first, the more that I'm actually learning that I can bring back and use to inform the work that I'm doing. So you got to be doing it, don't you? You just can't be talking it. So tell me about,
Well,
go ahead, and then I want you to tell me about your district.
sure. Well, I was going to say, I mean, the one thing I find in a role that like I'm in, I can't really just go down the hall and tap, another person in the same role and get some feedback. I need to be interacting with counterparts in other school boards and school districts, and I've found through social media and building my professional learning network that having that global perspective really informs my work. It keeps me in touch with what other districts are doing, and it gives me a great perspective, most importantly, on what teachers want and need. And that's so important in planning the staff development and other technology work that we're doing. You can't be isolated.
So is Waterloo in an isolated place in Canada? A lot of us in the States, or at least people I talk to when they think of Canada, it's far, far away, So what's Waterloo like?
Well, we're not too isolated. In fact, we're in Ontario. We're about an hour's drive from Toronto, so kind of across the lake from Buffalo.
Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit about your district. What kind of number of students and who do you serve?
Certainly. We serve what's known here in Canada as Waterloo Region. It's really a cluster of four cities and Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and Elmira, and a number of small towns that surround and fit in this area as well. Altogether, we're, as a school district, serving 62,000 students, and we have 120 schools.
Good sized district. Well, yeah, it's great. So I'm wondering, I've known your district for quite some time, and I've seen some of the work you've done. You've really been quite a leader and quite successful in the connected learning space. Very visible, and you can feel a lot of energy around the things that you see Waterloo doing. In fact, when I talk to other districts in Canada, especially in the Ontario area, they always go, "Oh yeah, Waterloo's really shaking it up." So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about some of the cool things you're doing. Tell me a little bit about your journey as a district.
Well, absolutely. Be happy to do that, Cheryl. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about our philosophy, which actually has its roots back, I would say, almost to the beginning of the Internet. And that is, we've always viewed the use of technology as kind of a computers across the classroom approach. We've never pigeonholed it into just business or just programming and so on. We've always had that holistic sort of look at it, and from my point of view, that idea still serves us well as these new layers and new opportunities come in. So in terms of moving things right now, we recognize, I think, a number of things. People like to have a say in what they do. And so we try to keep this component in our staff development program where it's as self-directed as much as possible. The area where we do focus is trying to shift people away from thinking about necessarily specific tools, but thinking about how the tools enable and support student learning. And more specifically, how that dovetails with best classroom practice so that the use of the tools actually improves student scores, and we can have better ways of teacher providing assessment feedback and so on. So that's been critical. So I might outline 2 or 3 programs that we have on the go now that have really, in my mind, kind of stayed the course and become a little bit of a foundation for what's happening currently. One is our summer computer camp for our staff. Now, we call it Catsy by the Water. Again, Catsy meaning computers across the curriculum. And by the water because we actually do it off-site in a location about 2 hours from here. It's on a small lake, and it's really ideal in my viewpoint to get away. You're away from distractions. You're focused on your learning. There's very little chance of there being an interruption. So that's worked very well. The way we run our camp is we try to offer a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 campers to 1 facilitator, and the facilitators are just really there as coaches and guides. They're asking questions, they're helping to solve problems, keeping people moving along, but each camper is in fact in control of their own learning environment. So that's worked well. This year was camp number 22. So this has really settled in to be quite a tradition for our board, and I don't see that changing. Every year it's sold out, and we're delighted to be able to sponsor an event like that.
What goes on at a camp like that, Mark? What makes it different?
Well, a couple of things. Again, I think there's no schedule, and I know people that are first learning about the camp find that's hard to get your head around sometimes, but it truly is self-directed learning. The last 2 or 3 years we've worked with a number of different keynotes. As you know, it was an honor to have you here this year. And that, I think, sets the stage. It's the reminders of the importance of being connected and nurturing those around you and sharing and reflecting on your learning experiences. And that does, I think, set a certain energy. But people that come really, they're coming with their own ideas of what they want to learn and how they're going to use their learnings in their own classroom work with their students. And so there is this sort of free flow to it. We group people in the breakout rooms by very broad topics. So, for example, this year we had a group working on teacher websites, which we are doing as an organization using WordPress. There was another group using collaborative tools, so wikis and Google Docs and those kinds of tools. And we had a group working on the new GIS software that's available here and so on. So that kind of a free grouping works, but the individual part is all free flow.
It's good. So there was another program you're going to tell us about?
Well, 2 other ones, if there's room for me to mention that.
Yes, yeah.
Another program that we've had, we call it Catsy Connection, Computers Across the Curriculum Connection, and this is a program that teachers apply to. And those that are accepted, and we usually run a good 50 or 60 teachers each year through this program. They're issued a piece of mobile technology from the school board, and they're sort of looked at as our free-range learners. Now, free-range meaning, again, it's self-directed, but it is in, I would say, a little bit of a bigger sandbox where we do expect technology to be used and learned in ways that will be focused on classroom practice, improving instruction, improving student learning, and so on. It's not learning about technology just for the sake of learning technology. So with that little caveat in there, we've steered it the last, I would say, 3 years more into the Web 2.0 collaboration tool opportunities. So many of the teachers have focused on, again, Google Docs, using wikis, using the video conferencing systems and interacting that way, taking their classwork beyond the walls of the classroom and fostering an energy in that. So that program we've found, again, very successful. We run 2 groups, an elementary school group as well as a secondary school group.
So I'm curious about that program. Are you, connected learning and connected education is what I really know you for, is because you're really good at helping your faculty not only connect with people outside, when you say outside the walls of the classroom, not only connect with people internationally and globally, but you guys also do a lot of connecting amongst yourselves. Does that particular program help to foster that?
Absolutely. I can give you an example actually from 2 years ago where we started a Livescribe Pen program. And it was interesting. Again, it was self-directed. I was quite fascinated to see where it just sort of went on its own. And in our community, there's actually quite a good-sized population that's learning English as a second language. And so using the Livescribe pens, that was the technology that a lot of them were using, and we encouraged them to collect informal data. We ran focus groups. Some of them blogged about it, but we also set up a Ning community for our school district, and that's where a lot of the action and sharing happens. So again, it's the teachers were learning, we were benefiting the students, but we had a very professional way of sharing online and role modeling that kind of collaboration and sharing. And I think it's making those things visible and a natural part of the way you do work. To me, that's very important.
You know, Mark, you talked about on 2 different occasions now, I've heard you say self-directed, or we didn't have a schedule and people just sort of self-organized, and you really respect the agency of a teacher. Can you tell me, do you think that's an important thing in the direction that if a district was really looking to become more connected, is that a direction that they should go in? Do you think that's the way of things to come?
Well, I think it absolutely is the future. I mean, first of all, teachers are all professionals, and I think we need to respect that. And, and I even reflect on myself. My learning is the best when I have some choice and control in how that unravels. So, the flexibility around the time and maybe the topic and how you might apply it. I think that's very important. I mean, to me, the big picture things around it's important to reflect, it's important to share, and think about how your learnings inform your practice. That's critical. As professionals, each and every one of us needs to find our way of doing those things. And yet somehow I think coupling that with some flexibility and personal interest, as long as it's aligned with your primary goals, I think it helps breed success.
That's good. That's really good. So if a district was really thinking about and looking for ideas on how they could move from where they are to where you are, where they're really starting to think about, okay, some of our teachers are out online and they're blogging and they're on Twitter and they're doing all these informal kinds of learning experiences and socially. Are there some tips or tricks or advice that you could give a district that wants to take that very informal kind of learning and move it into a more formal context the way your district seems to have done?
Well, I think here we focused on a couple of things. We do have through our learning services group an excellent program where teachers are focusing on strategies of best instructional practice and the very best techniques to give ongoing assessment feedback to students. And what we've really tried to be thoughtful about in our environment is when we bring technology into the picture is not disturbing those things, but learning how to make them all work together. And I think that's been part of the reward for us. So from an IT perspective, I think developing those personal learning networks and so on is very important, but applying it to that personal context of your own classroom or perhaps your own in-school networking group, and linking it strongly to those instructional and assessment practices is critical.
So does that happen? Does that happen sort of in a self-directed way, or have you guys templated that at all, or how do you foster that? Because what I've noticed is that for some people they almost need you, and it's not that for lack of anything, it's just that sometimes because it's so new and different, they sort of need you to draw them a map to be able to generalize or contextualize like you're talking about. How have you made sure that that's successful, where they're able to get, oh, this can really, the work I'm doing in this online community really can inform what I'm doing in my practice? How do you see that? Because you've been really successful at it. How do you make that come from there to there?
That's a great question. I think from my point of view, it's important to really understand the linkages between technology and the classroom practice. And everything you do, in my mind, there is play, there's self-discovery, and yet in some sort of connected but not interfering way, it's playful and yet it's professional. That it's almost the idea of you can innovate for the sake of innovating, or you can innovate in a very purposeful way where it's going to change your practice or inform something that you do. And it's sort of applying that concept, in my mind, to the educational situation. So I know through our educational services department, they have a very good set of high expectations around professional protocols for teacher collaboration and learning from those experiences. And then we just try to link those same things with the technology into that framework. And so learning online should be just as professional as me talking with another teacher in my school, or doing a staff development session with my school administrator.
And by professional, I'm inferring that you mean deeply cognitive, very, very collegial in its approach, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. So are you going to participate, your district or you or some of your faculty, in Connected Educator Month?
Absolutely. And in fact, I just had an informal meeting with one of our secondary school feature forum teachers just prior to this meeting. And we've been talking about really trying to raise the visibility on the benefits of being a connected educator. I mean, from my own experience, I just feel like I've arrived. How could you not be a connected educator? And helping others along that same journey for me I feel like it's part of my mission. I owe it to other teachers to help them along. And so we have a number of key groups of teachers in our organization. We have contacts at each school that our department works with. We have the teachers that are in our Futures Forum project and that do our after-school workshop programs and so on. And we're going to be leveraging all of those people to really raise awareness and get some traction. My personal goal is that a number of our administrators will participate as well. And we'll see how that shakes out. But I think it's a great month. There's so many excellent opportunities, and it's such a positive way to begin building your network and have that positive experience. I'm really excited about the possibilities.
Are you incentivizing teachers that participate at all, or do you have other programs that you incentivize teachers if they become connected educators, or is it mostly intrinsic?
We've taken more of an intrinsic approach here. I don't think there's any one right answer. That's just our way of going after it. And I think fundamentally, I guess, my deep personal hope is that people would do it because they believe it's the right thing. And I think if we can provide, the supports and the encouragement and whatever is necessary to move them along that learning continuum, then I think that's really the best way in the end.
So I'm very interested. A lot of districts would say it just won't work with teachers. That you can't just, go loosey-goosey and say, let me get out of your way and what it'll happen right. A lot of people would say that just wouldn't happen, but it clearly has at Waterloo. So were you surprised when you had that gentle approach where you provided such a rich, stimulating environment and then just sort of got out of the way so people could be self-directed? Were you surprised at how well it worked?
Well, it's definitely been an interesting journey, and I think uh, all of us had some, I don't know, I wouldn't call it nervousness, but there was definitely an anticipation there of how will this really unfold. But it has worked well. I think in the end, it's the motivating and the environment that's important, and probably our best example, as you are likely familiar with our Futures Forum program. I mean, we really, from a central administration point of view, just agreed that we needed to shake things up, and we were going to support teachers in approaching teaching and learning in a different way. And at the end of the day, it was the teachers that designed the curriculum, and it was the teachers that experimented, it was the teachers that transformed themselves, and we really provided just a way for them to say, yes, it's okay, go ahead. And this is year 5 now for us in terms of scaling that program, and those teachers are still meeting online, they're meeting face-to-face, and they're still informing that same process. And we're just making sure that we're staying focused on board goals and some of those big picture things. But, I mean, kudos to the teachers. It's really their work.
So if you were to give any advice or any words of wisdom to a district that wants to move from just being merely motivating and encouraging for people to become connected to really supporting their efforts the way that your district has, what would you tell them?
I would encourage them to think about flexibility. I would think about the value of personalizing your own learning. I think a must for me is it's so important to share what you read, what you learn, gather information from others, and whether that starts online and moves to personal face-to-face or the other way around, I think in the end you need a mix. So take those steps, take a journey, but you have to trust that people are going to do the right things. They're professionals, and we provide access. We provide mobile devices. We provide infrastructure. We provide encouragement. There's all those things, but I think they're all sort of its important ingredients in a recipe to see something big and strong and full of energy and synergy.
It's great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and to share transparently what works in Waterloo. I'll look forward to seeing you during Connected Educator Month. Bye, Mark.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye, Cheryl.